Got something here.
Yeah.
First one of the day.
Yeah. Spring tidal water fishing. I'm Bob Murray.
I'm Steve Horvath.
Stay tuned, it's going to be a good one. All right, Stevie, first spring bass, huh?
That's it. Let's get this one back. One of those big females we were talking about. There we go.
Just ran off with it.
Yep.
Oh, the down stuff's getting me old, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's a nice fish.
Yeah.
Come here, boy. There you go. Well, Stevie, we're back springtime fishing on the Delaware River with my Captain Steve Horvath, part of Delaware Valley Outdoors. And Steve said that we should come down here and do some fishing for the springtime. And we're catching up. Steve, this is, you can see the female here, right?
She's nice and fat. She's going to be spawning here in another week or so.
Yeah.
And nice color to her. Fish has moved up in shallow water.
Right.
And she grabbed your Senko and took off with it, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, when we're fishing like this, the fish will move up and back. So you might go up one bank, come right back down and catch a fish. It's
That's what we're doing.
Right. We're going back.
We're going back over the spot. You caught a half decent little one there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh,
yeah.
All right. So we're down on the Delaware River. We're springtime fishing. Whoops.
And it's still jumping.
It's still jumping.
Plenty of energy.
And I know I've always tried to talk you into fishing as early as possible, but you're steady with this, and you say May is the kickoff month.
I'm spoiled, Bob. I mean, I live a couple miles from the ramp. You know, I know when the best time is to fish.
Right.
And to be honest, I'm guiding striper fishermen earlier.
Right.
So as soon as the striper fishing starts to die down a little bit, as soon as it gets a little slow, I'm out here for the largemouth bite.
Right. Now this bite, I mean, the fish will bite all summer, but this is the prime time to get out here to catch the bigger fish.
Yep.
And it's not odd that you'll catch a 4-pound bass.
Yeah, and you know what? The boat traffic still isn't real bad.
Right, the ramp's okay.
The ramps are good. The weather's, it's nice and mild. It's a great time to get out and fish.
Yeah, it's not too hot.
Right.
Not too cold.
But there are a couple of things that we talked about. Well, we always talk about. We always talk about what's the tide, when are we going, what are we doing. But a lot of people have to know that these first fish that wind up on shallow and they turn on are generally the smaller fish. The bigger fish move up after them. So sometimes we'll fish a little deeper for the bigger fish.
That fish I caught was out farther.
Yeah, that one was out probably, 30 feet from the bank.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to develop a pattern.
Okay. And again, I'm just throwing a Senko, you're throwing a drop shot.
Right.
We could throw a spinnerbait in here and stuff like that. And we probably will later on.
Absolutely.
And water temperature gets up a little bit. And the area we're fishing is really conducive to what we're doing here right now. Once we get into more open spaces, then we can we go up another creek or something like that, and we can do that.
So I think I'm going back to fishing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to fish some more.
I'm going over this side. I think I see another one there. Steve, it's been a warm winter.
Yep.
We've done really well. It's kind of cool out this morning. Of course, I'm still warm from Florida, but springtime fishing is great on the Delaware River. I mean, you just love it this time of year.
Oh, absolutely.
What do we have with the tidal and the water and the springtime? Well, what do we need? We got 3 elements.
Right. Here's the big thing, Bob. The water gets cold over the winter. Even though we didn't have a real cold winter, the water gets cold. The fish don't want to be out in the main current. Right. So they spend a lot of the winter time up inside coves and pockets and stuff. And that's the big key, because what happens is the next thing they're going to do is they're going to get ready to make little baby bass.
Right.
Now, if you have a current situation, that washes silt over top of where they're going to build their beds and stuff, and it's just not real productive. So what the bass do is they get out of those places and they're in the calm backwater. So the first thing I'm going to look for is a backwater situation where there's not a lot of current.
And with that current, it doesn't stir up the silt, and it warms up easier too.
It's much more stable, the environment. And that's what everything looks for. It looks for a stable environment to be able to spawn.
And especially when you go into these coves, you got to make sure you got deep water, even at low tide.
See, now that's the second key.
Right.
You know, a lot of you'll see coves all over the place. You'll see coves, and a lot of these coves, once the tide goes out with like a 5-foot tide swing, all you have is mud flat. So if the spot where the fish was going to build a bed is dry at low water, they're not going to be there.
Yeah, they know that too.
Now, at other times of the year, like the fall, sometimes we'll catch them on those flats,
Right.
but not this time of year. So the two big key ingredients. So we've got backwaters 1, and we've got some water depth. That's number 2. And I'll give you a third ingredient.
And that would be?
We need some type of bank that they can spawn on. Some of the pockets, like the barge slips and stuff, they're concrete all the way to the back. Well, there's nowhere for them to spawn. It's just a vertical wall.
Straight, right.
So we need to have some type of natural shoreline.
And what we have right here, especially, is like almost perfect because we got that rock there that comes out, and then you got your bottom here.
Right,
And
small
and
rocks, pebbles, stuff like that.
It's steep.
Yep. So this is an ideal type of area.
And you can find them up and down the river.
Sure, absolutely. Now, there's also another thing that a lot of people don't realize is there's some big boats in this river. And you have to be careful when you're fishing in the marinas. You don't want to cast on top of somebody's boat or anything.
Yeah, they do get
But
angry
bass will actually spawn on the trim tabs of some of these boats.
because they don't move or just sit there.
Exactly. They got this great big trim tab, 18, 24 inches, and they'll come up on top of the trim tab, and most of these boats don't move much,
Right.
especially this time of year.
Right.
They'll fan out a little clean spot, they'll spawn, in a couple weeks the babies hatch, and they're out of there. And basically the boat owner never knows that they own their own hatchery. I think it's time to catch another one here.
Now, it's springtime, and God, a couple weeks ago we were doing 80. The other day it was 80. Now it's in the high 60s right now.
Right.
So what is that water temperature? What water temperature would you say once it stabilizes that I want?
Well, I'll fish just about any water temperature, I'll be honest. But my key for really finding these fish, getting ready to get up in the shallows and spawn and feed and all that stuff, when I see 60-degree water temperature, I foam at the mouth, basically. 60 degrees is the big key for me. And the other thing is the moon phase. We're coming off of a full moon.
Yeah,
Okay,
big moon too,
yeah, and a full moon is like this. It's a trigger. So if you have water conditions that are right, some fish will spawn, okay?
Right.
If you have moon conditions that are right, some fish will spawn. But if you have water temperature and moon phase right, a whole bunch of fish will spawn. And that's what we're doing. We're fishing for fish that are coming up to spawn. We're not actually bed fishing or
Right.
sight fishing or anything like that. That's one of the big keys in the spring. You put it all together and you have good fishing.
Yeah, and I mean we're doing the bank thing here, but there's other types of structure that we could get into. I mean we got the docks and stuff because
Sure.
you can see them. They'll be
Oh,
with
yeah.
the right sunlight. You'll see them just sitting right under them.
And that's what they'll do. Before they're going to spawn, they're going to go up under those docks and suspend. And if you have, a pair of polarized sunglasses like I have in my pocket right now because I don't need it, it's cloudy, you can see those bass, and they're very catchable. It's one of the few times when bass are easily catchable, when they're under these docks, and you can see them between the pontoons. You see their noses sticking out.
Right.
You skip your little Senko up in there, and you catch them quick.
Yeah, and we're using a drop shot. I'm using a Senko, but anything you can skip up in there,
Yep.
that's perfect for them. All right, come on,
Yep.
Steve, let's catch a fish.
Yeah, let's get to the next spot here. There's one, Bob. Oh, on a drop shot. There we go. Swing her on in here. There we are.
Steve, one of the things that we should really just touch on is, I know you're doing a drop shot.
Yep.
I'm doing the Senkos, and
Right.
that kind of stuff. But our presentation is slow.
Slow.
Got to remember that. Your presentation now is slow. I mean, yeah, we're going to throw a spinnerbait or something like that, but
Oh, yeah.
but odds are right in the side of his mouth there, right?
Yep. As a matter of fact, he actually swallowed the sinker and the worm, so I got to kind of fish the whole deal out of there. If I have to, I'll just bite it off and retie it, but I should be able to do it without hurting the fish.
Yeah, that's one thing you really
There we go.
should emphasize, the fact that we're moving these baits real slow.
Slow.
Right.
And we're fishing a little different here. I mean, we're not different, but different slightly techniques. We're both fishing finesse techniques.
Right.
But you're fishing a wacky rig Senko,
right,
stick bait type of deal.
Right.
And I'm fishing a drop shot. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm a recent drop shot conversion. Okay, in the last 5 years, I've been turned on to this deal.
Yeah, well, the drop shot, it's new on the East Coast.
Right.
Or newer on the East Coast. I mean,
Yep.
you guys are doing it now. But basically, it came out of lakes, though, right?
It's basically a West Coast or probably even a Japanese type of deal. But it definitely caught on first on the West Coast. And it's a little different in that it's almost like a carp type of rig. Your sinker's on the bottom, your worm's up a little bit, and you use this little teeny tiny hook.
Right, that's what size hook is that?
Yep. It's a
It's an octopus hook, isn't it?
well, it's an octopus hook. It's a #2 octopus hook that I'm using. And all I'm doing is nose hooking the worm, almost like a walleye guy would do.
Yeah, like a leech or something.
Yeah. And it's a technique all on its own. Use a little bit lighter line. It's just about completely a spinning tackle deal. Some guys do fish a heavy drop shot in weeds on like a heavy bait cast type of rig, almost like a pitching type of deal, and they've caught some fish. But 99% of it is a lighter tackle deal.
And which is fun, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's now, with your bait, though, which we talked about, is that you're going to get a lot more hits, too. You're going to get the sunny hits and that kind of
Virtually
stuff, too.
everything that this passes by will take a peck at it.
Right.
So at the times you need to use a little bit of restraint. Not every tap is a bass when you're fishing this
Right.
rig. And it catches them all sizes.
Right.
You know, I catch them 6 inches, I catch them 6 pounds.
That's okay.
Another good one on a Senko.
Now that one, I didn't even feel it, Steve.
Yep.
I saw the line moving. There's a nice fish. Oh.
You know, as a lesson to people, that's why we're fishing with 2 different techniques.
Yep.
If the fish don't want one, they'll take the other.
Yep.
There's no sense in 2 of us fishing down the bank with Senkos.
Nope.
So I go with the drop shot, you go with the Senko.
Right.
I catch some fish, you catch some fish, we both have a good time.
That's a nice small female. Or
Yeah.
Nice size female.
Yeah.
Got a nice big belly on her.
Yeah.
Cute. Nice clean. Yeah. Again, that was pretty fun.
Out off the bank.
Off the bank.
They're
and-
moving up.
And she just picked it up and just started. I didn't, like I said, I didn't feel the bite.
Right.
So you do have to watch your line a lot of
Oh,
times,
yeah.
especially with the Senko stuff, because they'll just suck it right up.
Yep.
And you can see that was far down in her mouth.
Oh yeah, she had it.
Yeah, sweetie. Alrighty, that's a nice one.
It was a nice fish.
Yeah.
But again, I really want to tell people, fish with different baits. Like at one time, when we did our first DVD,
Right.
we talked about complementary techniques.
Right.
Fishing 2 baits that are similar but not the same. Otherwise, you're not going to catch as many fish.
Yeah, you're one-dimensional. This way
Yeah.
we're two-dimensional here,
Yep.
because I'm letting my bait fall straight through the column.
Right.
Where yours goes right to the bottom and just you're
Yep.
about that 6-8 inches
Yeah.
off the bottom.
Yep. And we're seeing a size preference too. The fish you're catching are a different size than the fish I'm
Yeah.
catching.
Yeah.
So I'm liable to put the Senko on and kick you overboard here in a minute. Here we go. That's a better fish on the drop shot. Let's jump again. Ooh, this one's got all kinds of black spots on them.
That's a nice fish, Stevie.
Yeah. Here, let me do the pro lift thing. Of course, you might have to pick me up off the ground. There we go.
Nice one. Look at that spot on its tail.
Yep. Look at that. It's got spots all over him. On a drop shot. Another female fish.
And one of the things, Steve, we've gone up and down this bank a couple of times, so it pays not to leave a spot if you don't catch a bite.
Oh no, we moved back and forth a couple times here. First pass, you caught nothing.
Right.
I caught nothing. Second pass, you got one.
Right.
And as the third pass over a 50-yard bank,
Yeah.
and we got a fish.
Yeah, so when you got to that point, don't give up on it a little bit, because this fish will move back and forth.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just back us away
That
here.
came out of some deeper water too, didn't it, Steve?
Yeah, but that fish again was out like 30 feet off the bank.
He was running with it a little bit.
Yeah, he took off with it, didn't he?
Yeah. Ooh. Now, this fish here, again, it's not a very big fish, but they're called bank runners.
Yeah.
And these are the little males that are moving up into the shallows.
Yep. Generally, the first fish that come up shallow will be those smaller fish, and then right behind will be the females.
Yeah. So a lot of times you'll have to go through a bunch of little ones to come up with a big one. Again, we're just in the backwaters of a marina, and just fishing. The structure here, like again, you said it's darker.
Yep.
It's got a little bit more heat to it. Just they'll move right up
and out of the current.
and out of current.
And now for a closer look at today's tackle, Delaware Valley Outdoors presents the Tackle Box. For more information about the tackle used on today's show, go to DelawareValleyOutdoors.com.
Well, Steve, we're here with the tackle box, and when we're talking spring fishing, we have a lot of good baits to use.
Oh yeah.
Our fun baits, but you know, we have to fish slow sometimes, but
Right.
and other times because we're on tidal water right now, so that tide moves it. So we're going to have some baits that actually move
Right.
with the tide, and actually like bait fish and stuff like that. You can't go wrong with the spinnerbait.
Right.
I like white. Sometimes guys will put chartreuse in it, but 3/8 is probably your best bet. And you know, either a gold and silver or something like that. You know, do it like that. Now, where would you consider throwing this kind of bait?
Well, a spinnerbait's a great bait in tidal water just about any time of the year. The nice thing is you can choose how fast or slow you work the spinnerbait. You can be able to reel it fast by going to a smaller blade and staying with the same spinnerbait. It's very versatile. I have a spinnerbait tied on every single day that I fish tidal or moving water. Now, that being said, I tend to like a little bit smaller body spinnerbait. The weight can be fine. It can be a 3/8 ounce, but I don't want a great big frame on a spinnerbait in tidal water. The fish tend to like smaller, bulkier baits. But in this time of the year when we're talking about bass that are getting up on the banks and stuff, I really like spinnerbaits on cloudy days and very low water. Those are the times when I'm going to cover a lot of area. I'm going to fish a little faster, looking for reaction strikes. And the fish, you know, their strike zone goes from about there to much bigger.
Right.
You know, so the spinnerbait is a great bait for covering water and catches nice fish.
Right, it does. You'll catch some nice fish on it. You know, and again, one thing that I just took this out of the bag, so I don't have it. But on on our baits that we fished today, we had a trailer hook on.
Oh,
here
absolutely.
Too. Always have a trailer hook on. I know I've gotten yelled at by
Me.
some people because I threw one without a
Don't fish without a trailer hook.
Okay, now you turned this type of bait on to me years ago back when you were fishing those low waters. Tell us what we have here, Steve.
Another great bait for fishing low water conditions, again, cloudy water. The neat thing about that bait is, even though it's got a pair of treble hooks, it'll come through a surprising amount of cover. Most people fish a crankbait on 8 and 10 pound test. I'll fish them on 15, 17, even 20 pound test, throw it into very nasty stuff and pull fish out of it. The nice thing about a crankbait is when you throw it into that cover, very rarely is somebody else throwing a crankbait into that same cover. So it gives them something completely different to look at. Catches a lot of fish, catches them all sizes.
Right, and again, you've taught me this was at those low conditions when the water's real low.
Right.
Those fish only have a certain spot to be in,
Yep.
and this small little bait goes through there.
Yep.
Chartreuse or the brown colors in the fall and stuff like
Yep.
that work really well with that kind of stuff. And then the other time, then when we're out in the river in the summer, when it gets later, then I throw
Sure, bigger
a
crankbait.
bigger crankbait that looks like a shad or something like that.
Right.
Now, this morning when we were talking, he said, "Bobby, do you have any poppers?" I said, "What poppers? I mean, come on, this is early May here. Well, how about this one? I know this does a nice job on the river."
Oh yeah. The thing about a popper is, immediately soon as the bass are done spawning and they start guarding fry, A popper is deadly in the early morning and even into the midday on the river. I can't tell you how many fish I catch on the top water soon as you start to see those bass fry. When the males are still guarding the fry, it's a quick lure to catch a limit on real fast a lot of times.
A lot of times you'll see the fish that are pushing the bait fish up against the
Yep.
bank. And I know we talked about this before, but we have 15 rods out here, and there's a reason why you have all these rods. So if you see something like that where they're busting on the water,
Oh, exactly.
just throw that in there and,
Yep.
and you'll catch them. Again, size-wise, you know, it's about the good size right here for that kind of thing, and your own preference and color. All right, now we got to go to your favorites here. You got the ever famous and popular lizard.
Oh yeah, yep, and that's a little 5-inch lizard. You'll notice that I'm staying with the small bait theme. It's the spring of the year. These fish don't have tremendous appetites. They can get the whole bait in their mouth, and a lot of times when they're up shallow and they're thinking about spawning, they're going to hit out of reaction. Even a slow bait, it's going to fall down next to them. They're going to suck it in real quick, and sometimes they spit it out real quick. I want them to get the whole bait. The other thing is, fishing in the Delaware River, a decent limit of fish in the Delaware River is a 10-pound limit. If I have a 10-pound 5-fish limit, I'm happy as a clam if I'm fishing a tournament.
Right.
Which means most of the fish you're going to catch are going to be 2 pounds or under. So we do scale the baits down a little bit because of the average size fish.
Right, right. And again, your preference is the June bug, or is it just?
I like any color as long as it's June bug, green pumpkin, or watermelon with red flake is fine with me.
In the lizards.
In the lizards, especially in the river.
Texas rig 'em with a little lead
Yep.
bait.
Yep.
Now this is the one that I cut my teeth on years ago.
Oh yeah.
And it's the old creature bait.
Yep. To me, what it is it's an improvement on the lizard. It looks very similar to the lizard,
tail.
but it's got the tail, it's got some little flappy things on it. But the big thing is, that is my go-to bait for a little bit bigger fish because it appeals to bigger fish. And also, I toss it on heavy tackle. As you saw today,
Right. Yeah.
you know, one of the better fish we caught today, I cast over top of a dock, and I had to swing the fish back over the dock. And you really don't want to try that on an 8-pound spinning line.
Nope.
Now, the important deal is the hook that you rig it on.
Right.
Okay, we've got 25-pound big game line.
Right.
Okay, so we're using heavy line to start with. We've got a 4-0 heavy duty hook.
Right.
And what happens is when you rig that bait on that hook goes almost back to the tail. When that fish sucks it in, you set the hook, you can set it hard, you can pull on the fish hard, and you're not going to straighten out this hook. If I did it with a light wire hook, like we use for some of our
Right.
finesse
Yeah.
methods, yeah, we're just going to straighten it out.
Okay, and we have my favorite, the
The Senko.
Senko, whatever they call them, stick bait, whatever, the
Yeah.
saw stick baits. Again, I wacky rig it a lot.
Right.
It's really popular now, but it really works well out here and lakes and stuff like that. It's really easy to spinning tackle, 10, 12-pound test, and you shouldn't have any trouble with that. And the one bait that I really want to get to, Steve, is the finesse worms for your drop shot.
Yeah, drop shot fishing is absolutely indispensable if you want to catch bass every day of the week. 70% of the time I can go out there and I can catch bass on standard methods. All the rest of the time, if I need to grind out a bunch of fish, I put on a drop shot. It appeals to just about any fish out there.
Okay, let's just talk about what is a drop shot and how to hook
Well,
up.
here's the thing. The drop shot, the sinker is on the bottom and the hook is up higher. What I do is I'll take my line. Now with drop shot fishing, you're going to fish light line. 10-pound test is very heavy line for drop shot fishing. In the river, I use 8. There's a lot of people that use 6.
6, yes.
Especially if you're fishing clear water, 6-pound fluorocarbon is hard to beat.
Right.
First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my hook on there. What I'll do is I'm going to tie the hook on there. And my eyes aren't quite what they used to be here. Okay, so I got it the first try. Okay, I'm going to tie a Palomar knot. Okay?
And if you want to know what a Palomar knot is, you can go to the website and we have all the knots out there for you.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie the Palomar knot, but I'm going to leave a very long end on it, what they call a tag end. got our Palomar knot. Now normally,
You would cut that off.
you would cut all this off.
All right.
But what we're going to do is we're going to attach a sinker. Now the sinkers can be 1/8 ounce, 3/16 ounce. I'm going to tie this with what a lot of people call a twisty knot, which is just a clinch knot. But I'm only going to tie it, I'm going to wrap it 3 times. A lot of times if the sinker gets stuck, the knot will pull out. So what we have is, we have a hook and we have a weight about 12 inches down. Now you have some options,
Right.
okay? You've got your standard straight tail worm. And all we're going to do is we're just going to nose hook it so it lays straight.
And just you're on
And
spinning
you
tackle.
throw it out on spinning tackle and you just basically hold it in place, drag it real slow, maybe a little shake. The other thing that I'll do is, if the fish are a little more active, I'll switch over to
a little curly
a
tail.
curly tail worm on a drop shot. Sometimes that'll make the difference, especially fishing in current.
Right, right. Well, look, we gave you some good tips here, from spinner baits to drop shot. Hope you do good. And that's the tackle box.
Oh, geez. Oh, man. There we go, Bob. That's why we use a heavy line and a flipping stick.
Hey, I'm Bob Murray, Steve Horvath, springtime bass fishing on the Delaware River, and kind of what would happen, let me just give us real quick. The tide caught us, it's too low, so we had to flip over the dock, which is still legal if you're as long as you don't get out of the boat, you can catch a fish like that. There's a little trick like that. Heavy line, flipping stick, and you'll be rewarded with a nice springtime bass and a tournament bass.
That's it.
Good.
Remember
Hey.
to check us out on the web,
Yeah.
DelawareValleyOutdoors.com. Check us out on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter.
Hey, I'm Bob Murray.
I'm Steve Horvath.
We'll see you on the water.
Coming to,
No.
Yeah. No, he's pretty long, Bob.
It is. It's a. Ooh, wait a minute. Hold on.
It's the rare.
It's a spring stick.
Yep, it's the Delaware River.
It's a spring stick. I
That's
got
cute.
them.
Oh yeah.
Now these are pretty good. I mean, this is a nice one.
You know what? You hooked them well.
Yeah, I love that.
He's not gut hooked. You
Nope.
can easily unhook him. That's pretty good.
This is a nice spring stick. I like it.
And it's
Yeah,
a
you know what it is?
smallmouth
It doesn't
variety.
have a lot of that gunk on it too. You know, it's clean.
Yeah.
It's a clean stick.
That's nice.
Yeah.